first.
My daughter's. She finally got her. We should go somewhere that's shorter first before we hit the ocean. If you get a direct flight, yeah, it's not there. Yeah, well, that's why I think that was a few years of Google flights.
I had a great holiday. Yeah, we went back to Montana to see what it was. Yeah, he lives in Whitefish. Right where I left him, I left him for a while.
Where it has the
I can't
prices
blame
changed,
him.
those are notices.
Did you get trapped in any snow or anything, or was it nice?
Oh, no, it was, it actually wasn't, really, the snow was
Thank you.
pretty sparse.
Don't you get any idea of the moving back there? Don't you even think about it? I don't know what you do.
After I retired,
That makes sense.
no, it's been more than 3 days and it starts to like, you know, I need to go
Say
back.
9 over there.
It says 9 over there.
I love them.
Actually, they both say 9. They're aligned for the moment. It doesn't happen very often.
You ready, Debbie?
I am.
Go. Good morning, leadership team. Welcome to 2025. I'm gonna go a little off script here. It was a pretty moving morning this morning. I think in my time here, I can't remember when there was that many elected officials sworn in. Maybe there were, and as many supporters that came out within the county and family.
Oh, nice.
So that was pretty neat for me to see. I think others probably felt the same, but I wanted to give, so congratulations to all the new elected officials. I don't know if you have any online. Thank you for stepping up and serving the county, and I'd like to give you all an opportunity to say a few things if you'd like to kick us off. No pressure, but if you want to.
No, thank you, no, it feels great to finally start.
Yeah, I bet.
It was nice to see that many people show
Yeah.
up, so. Yeah, I'm ready to go,
Yeah, okay.
to get to work.
Mary Kay, you have anything?
Oh, just,
Okay.
echo what you said,
Yeah.
congratulations to everybody, and it really was a moving ceremony,
Yeah.
I was so glad I was there. And Commissioner Fournier, at long last, Commissioner, you're welcome. Yeah.
I get really tired of saying it, Commissioner-elect all the
I
time.
know,
It's
right?
a
We can just
mouthful.
shorten that down, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So, no, it was, I think you're right, we probably haven't had that many elected for a very long time when you consider that we had clerk and assessor sworn in, which haven't happened for many years. So Rachel asked me this morning, did it feel different this time than it did last time? And I said, yeah, last time there was the butterflies in the stomach, there was, let's just figure this out, let's get it done. And this time it was like, okay, now I know there's a lot of hard work to be done and I know we're ready to jump in and do it. So welcome,
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Fournier, excited to work with
Appreciate it.
you. Commissioner Val, another 2 years before we get to go through elections for you, but I think we have a good team and I'm excited for the leadership team as well. I wanted to just thank everyone for participating. I know there's a lot of pressures on the time for all of you as department heads and leaders at the county. And I appreciate the work that we've done in the last year in the leadership team forum with the strategic planning, with the budget work, with all of that. And the fact that over the last year, we've done that as a team. And I really look forward to the continued work together. I feel like we've taken a different turn as county leadership, really working to create a cohesive team, but where everybody can speak out, tell us what you think, tell us where we're on track, tell us where we're not. Let's work together to really make the county an more amazing place than it already is, so appreciate that. And Sean, thank you for continuing to serve as an elected official. I know like Commissioner Bell, you weren't up this time, but it is, we appreciate your service.
Oh,
So-
and I'm sorry I missed it. I thought it was 8. So I went,
Well, and
I
there were
went up
number-
there and where it's like, oh, good. I was like,
Well, there are a number of people that came in because it had a nice little schedule of 15 minutes per person, which we were done in like 7.
that's it was like over and done. I'm like,
So Judge Hill. So anyway, just thank you everyone. Look forward to another great 4 years for me.
Sean, any comments?
no,
No.
looking forward to what's gonna be over the next couple of years.
Hey, Josh, I don't know if you heard the intro, we're congratulating elected officials and giving them a few minutes to comment on anything you'd like to kick off the new year with. No pressure.
I kind of do feel pressured. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, you're
I was excited. That was a good group of attendees to that, and a lot of excitement coming into this, and I share the excitement. I apologize that I'm not there in person. The Class A's are very, very uncomfortable, and was 40 minutes before the meeting actually started because like Commissioner Scar said, we were done in record time. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Aubrey, do you have anything to add?
Sorry, I just joined on. I thought we were gonna be a few minutes late. So what is the discussion?
We're just kind of acknowledging the new year and all the elected officials that just got sworn in and the elected officials who are just continuing to serve but weren't new this year, and giving them an opportunity to say a few words coming into the new year, if you'd like to.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'll just congratulate and welcome all of the new elected officials, and say I'm grateful to the ones that are continuing to serve. I'm going into my 3rd year now as DA. That's almost impossible for me to believe that it's been 2 years. We'll just keep moving forward. I have been very pleased with the way the county and this leadership team has worked together. And I look forward to continuing that collaborative effort to ensure that we are running things as smoothly as possible. Thank you.
You know everybody, so we don't need to do introductions for
good.
anyone new, okay? So we didn't have anything on the agenda, so I had several items I was planning on updating you all, so I'm just gonna run through all my CAO updates, which is a hodgepodge of a lot of different things. I have a couple of carryover projects. I think I'll just wait and go through the roundtable and update you all at that point. So diving in, you're probably all curious where we are with hiring the IS director and the HR director. As you know, we've had 2 failed recruitments. Several offers have been made, but nothing's yielded an accepted offer. The position continues to be open until filled. We didn't do any push for advertising over the last, since those 2 failed recruitments, waiting to come into the first of the year and do additional marketing. So we've slightly revised the position profile that's going to be advertised, and we'll be doing another round of paid marketing nationwide this week. So that's what's happening there. I think you're all aware that we've hired Harang Long, which is a law firm out of Eugene, to come in and do one of our first department audits, and that's with the legal assessment services that the county provides. I provided them a lot of information that they've requested for our costs over the last 5 or 6 years across all departments, employees and contracted services, as well as copies of all of our contracts that we have for legal services. They've started reviewing that, and then I've reached out to a select few of county leadership members who interact with our legal services a lot, and we'll be doing a roundtable of interview one-on-ones with them, I think the 23rd of January. Oh, Chris, you had your hand up?
Yeah, quick question for you. Because we failed recruitment a couple times on our directors, IS and HR, is there a fundamental reason? Are we just off not paying enough out of market, or do we know the root cause of failure for those positions?
I think from the little I have heard from information that has been shared without prodding too much, I think it's been a mix. But I would not characterize it as salary is the primary, is the sole factor.
Okay,
There's
thank you. We just want to make sure if
housing.
there's an issue, we're trying to address it.
Yep.
Thank you.
So Aaron with Harang Long is gonna come in and do some one-on-ones with our departments that work a lot with legal services, and following that, they will provide an analysis of what they found and recommendations, if any, on how we may be able to do things better. So that's happening, and so we should have that report, I would say, by early February. The courthouse space assessment, we have hired, and that was paid out of ARPA, that's being paid out of ARPA funds. Courthouse space assessment, we've hired DLR to come in and interview every department in person in the courthouse. That is going to be scheduled soon. It's not scheduled yet. Isabel's gonna be sending out an email in the next couple of weeks. And so the goal of those meetings is to better understand the department's needs, do an analysis of space, and try to put all this together and see if we can all live in the courthouse. And if not, how much more space do we need, and can we build it on site, or do we actually need a whole other building? So that is a couple month long process, but we're gonna get going on that soon. We've also hired with ARPA funds Tiberius, which is, we're calling them our financial consultant at this point. The first thing that they've been charged with doing is diving into the assessment of the utility fee, which has a lot more to it than just a utility fee. They're looking at lots of different utilities. Their work, I believe, has concluded, and Deborah and Jacob and I are meeting with them this Thursday to hear their findings. And then I think from there, we'll pull in, this will be one of the first things that the new executive team works on, pull the executive team in and figure out where we want to go from there. Do we want to recommend things to the board of commissioners, et cetera. So that is moving forward, and what that also means is with that piece wrapping up, they will start diving into the larger concepts of all the cost reduction and all of the revenue generating ideas that we have just been on hold while they've been working on the utility fee. Okay. ARPA, there was a lot of talk about ARPA. Oh, sorry to those online, I'll email this handout out after the meeting. So what you have here is the final list of ARPA allocations. The box at the top hasn't changed since you last saw this, but basically this is, and Deborah and I are gonna use this to start tracking going forward, but this is a list of all the projects. The only things that have really changed, I recall, since you saw this last is I anticipated that because we were on a time crunch, some of the projects that were put forth may or may not come to fruition by our deadline, and we didn't want to lose the ARPA money, so I came up with some backup plans, that being Peck Rubinoff and Bill Sargent costs, Prothman services for the HR and IS director recruiting. Commissioner Bell is getting a new chair. That's a huge ticket item of $212. That came in right under the wire.
So you call it a BOC chair, not specifically calling it out as elected position, is what we found with ARPA funds.
Say that again?
A chair for someone in the BOC, not a specific person.
Okay.
As far as anything goes for electeds.
Okay.
We got called out on that.
Noted. So does that, is that the same for your desk? That's for
It's a
your
new
office
desk.
desk?
It's a new desk in the treasurer's office. We just went in there. Yeah. And that's in the reporting that we have to provide.
What about the DA office reno? That's okay, cause it's larger office.
That's a larger,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay,
not specific
interesting.
to a chair.
Okay.
Federal government for all your rules.
And then.
Just in case people are wondering, I am still sitting in Tim Josie's chair and the surface is chipping off, and so every day there's debris, there's black debris on my carpet that used to be Tim's chair.
We still have a 25-year-old
I think we got our money's
chair in
worth out of that
office.
chair.
Yes. I'm sure those are pretty, I mean,
It's the old school and they built them
you can,
well.
you can still sit in it, but
And then the last item is just the balance of, we have all these projects, and to make the amount balance of what we needed to spend by the end of the year, there was still $19,115, and I'm working with the treasurer's office on, there's a ton of general fund that we can do there, so we'll be doing some adjustments there, but the ARPA money got allocated, we didn't have to send any back. Thank you everyone for your hard work in rushing this through. I know it was a lot of work in December, but we made it, and significant savings for the general fund. Okay. And we have now till December 26th to spend it. Yes, so that's good, which most of that will be spent before then, I think. The job classification description study, so Troop is on the home stretch with that. Today is the deadline, I think, for some supervisors that need to provide feedback on what employees submitted. So that's the last piece, and then Troop is running with preparing their final recommendations to send back to the county of how they would like to proceed with adjustments. And then that will be wrapping up. And they are prioritizing AFSCME. Compensation study, so we've hired Troop. We had our kickoff last week on that. And at the board briefing on the 15th, the board is going to hear from Troop. One of the first things you need to do with its compensation study is affirm the compensation philosophy as well as the comparator counties. So by the 10th is our goal that you will have something before you to review before the board briefing meeting next Wednesday. So leadership team, you're probably gonna wanna tune into that board briefing on the comparator counties and the compensation philosophy. And let me know if you need anything that you don't have in that document that you were wanting, or just anything that you're probably thinking maybe won't be in the document, but you'd like to hear more about, that would feed into that.
Are you gonna send that out to the entire leadership team meeting or just the BOC? The document.
Yeah, we can send it to the whole leadership. Let's see, why not?
So Rachel, one of the things that's I think important in there is we always talk about the statutory counties and have some definition and explanation of that. Why they're statutory if they are, or if that's just a best practice. I think one of the key things in our comparator counties, which we spent a lot of time on last go around, was trying to figure out how to acknowledge and account for the fact that we have high cost of living, et cetera. But just to really make sure that in that document it explains how we got to where we did get to and why that is or is not recommended going forward. So that may have already been in there, but that was the first thing that popped in my head.
I would suspect it wouldn't have been, so that's good. So we have open bargaining with AFSCME, meeting with the board in executive session this afternoon to just start talking about what you may want to include this year. And then we're gonna start scheduling the management team meetings going forward the next spring. Okay. Anything else?
Can I circle back to the facilities assessment? Did you say when you thought that that's gonna start? I didn't hear you.
That is going to be scheduled, I kind of said, that's gonna be scheduled. Isabel's going to be sending out an email within 2 weeks to schedule the one-on-one meetings when DLR comes here, so I would guess late January,
Okay.
early
Thank you.
February, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Paul, you wanna kick us off? Roundtable updates, do you have any updates from this morning?
I did speak, well, just real quick, I did speak with Casey from AFSCME outside, nothing official, but they seem to be excited about bargaining and they had compliments for your job, how you've been handling the interim position, so that's nice to hear. As a former union guy, it's nice to hear when they're happy with the direction HR is going, and so hopefully the new hire we get will carry that on. Kind of have a focus on employees, so it's good to hear that, not complaints, so.
Well, good morning, everybody. So this, most of it is, just work as normal, but, I do wanna make a comment about the parking passes this year, because it was a change. We went from the hanger type to stickers, and primarily it was because of the number of reports of lost and or misplaced hangers from this last summer. Some people got some substantial tickets for it. So, coming from the Midwest, there was a number of state park agencies that use stickers, so in my mind, I thought, well, maybe this would resolve all this. Well, like anything, when you change something, there's always gonna be some feedback, and you know what, we want the feedback, we do. And so, I have to say that, since we started selling the new passes, at the beginning of December, we have sold a lot, okay, so it's not really deterring people that much. And so, but we are receiving the feedback, we are cataloging it, and we'll be taking that into consideration when we make decisions for next year. We do know that we've made an error already, and that is that the stickers are about an inch too big around the circumference. So state law says that they have to be an inch smaller, and so what we're saying is that, put them on your back window, not your front. And of course, what's happening is it's interesting to know now how many people, when they call us, have tinted windows, which is throwing a wrench into all this as well. So we're being flexible. Right now, we're saying, you know what, this is what we've got this year. Just have it be visible somewhere in your car, and we'll be fine. But that leads me really to the second part too, is that in casually, when I've gone to a variety of boat launches, I'm really not surprised by the number of vehicles that don't have passes. And in my mind, I think that really the solution at this point is to have parking enforcement. And I can't help but think, and what we're doing right now is I asked my fee collector this morning, I asked him to start taking a sample of the number of cars that have passes versus those that don't, so we start getting an idea. But I have reason to believe, and I haven't been able to prove it yet, but I will, that we probably could easily afford a parking patrol that can give tickets, so on and so forth. We feel that really a couple of tickets here and there would really solve the situation in a big way, plus boost, our revenue sales to help fund the boat launches in general, which are right now working at operating at a loss. So when we get that information, we'll make some estimates about perhaps we feel again, if we had a parking person that could give tickets, that the amount of money that we're missing could easily pay for that position. We don't know that for sure, but we're gonna figure that out. But I think that beyond that, I think that things are going well. We have a great staff at Parks. I'm grateful to be able to work with them, and we'll continue to try to do the good work.
Dan, are you aware that the Parks ordinance allows for you to hire that person that's not a sheriff's office deputy?
No, I'm not. I know that we had a position for rangers last year, which did not get filled. But we were thinking about, well, what does it take for someone to actually be able to give tickets? That might take a little bit more. So perhaps we can take some of those jobs that weren't filled, put them together, and then have somebody that does that, and also add in perhaps the lost revenue that we're missing out on because we don't have that person. So it's just a work in progress. Of course, I'll keep Commissioner Bell informed as we move forward, but that's just what we're thinking at this time for kind of a resolution.
I just also want to throw, TLT can pay for parking, if that becomes an issue, you can actually get TLT for a parking position, they're paying Anthony as code enforcement. Which of course, we've talked about expanding code enforcement, I think. The other thing to think about as we're going forward this year is, they should be, anybody writing tickets should all be ordinances, we should be adopting more state ORSs into our ordinances so that the money stays here.
Right, there you go.
We lose, I was gonna talk about this at a work meeting, so I don't wanna go down the road to Abilene here, but yeah, there's a lot of money that we're not grabbing, and part of that would be, rather than giving the state 65-75% of our revenue from tickets, we do ordinance, we get all of it.
That's why we have a hearing around those two for DCD.
Yeah, I mean, I think for everything, if they're speeding in the park, you're right, it has a different, we have to revamp the ordinance, but that's for another discussion, but you're right on board, there's a lot of money that we're not
And
paying.
you're on the board briefing in 2 weeks? Yeah. We can lump that in.
The code enforcement stuff.
Just an update.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
It has not died, it's limping along.
And we did try, did we not, 2 years ago, granted it was during the pandemic, to hire someone to do full-time enforcement at South down in Pacific City, and we just couldn't find anybody to take the job.
Sure.
So I say that to share with you that I think you will have nobody that doesn't support what you're saying. We're all excited and believe in what you're saying 100%. It's just how to make it operational
Right.
in a way that works, to Commissioner Fournier's point about how do we make it a way that works the way we want it to,
Sure.
and for you to be able to capture that revenue. So great work, we're all excited, we're with you, I think, on that.
Okay, thank you very much, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Last year, I did a lot of research on what it would take to hire a ranger or someone who could write tickets. And so I will be happy to let you know what I discovered and what the jumping off place would be.
Perfect.
And also, just this is amusing, in the entryway to the courthouse downstairs this morning, I got some feedback about your new stickers.
I got some at home too.
A citizen let me know that they have gotten their annual pass and they discovered that it was a sticker. And so they let me know that they laminated it because they will be moving it back and forth between their vehicles. And was that okay with me? And I said, thanks for letting me know.
Right. Well, and I'll share with you that the original thought was for them not to be transferable. You know what, we are taking a loss in our boat launch revenue at this point, and the only thing keeping the boat launches afloat are the work that we do at Barview Jetty. So that really has to change at some point. And so that was another idea, is that, well, if we have it not transferable, then people have to buy more passes, so on and so forth. We know that the second one is half price. And so, again, those are thoughts about how do we solve the problem? And so it's a work in progress. We're not there yet, but we're working on it. We're thinking about it every day.
So I will share the feedback I got, that was good feedback, which is my husband bought his pass and he was like, hey, did you know that this is good for 12 months?
Yes,
If
that's
I
the
no
other part.
longer
That-
have
that's
to
a
like
great-
buy this
yes.
pass if I don't get it till June, it's good till next June. So the rolling year was something that was
Yes,
good
and-
feedback. The
and that's-
back was, yeah,
And that's part of the change as well too.
Right.
So we thought that that might help, alleviate some of the pain.
and the
But,
half
uh,
price as well. The half
right.
price was a win in his book. The back window is a problem because he has a canopy on his truck. So if you
Yeah,
put it in the
right.
back window, you can't see it.
Right.
So
I
this will
also-
be on the dash.
I also bought a piece of plastic I'm putting on that, and that's gonna be on the dash.
Whatever works this year, right?
And I bought two, so.
Anyway, I just thought I would share that with you so that you knew what was going on and where we were going, what we we're thinking.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Okay, so
Welcome back.
Yeah,
thank
welcome
you.
back.
I'm glad to be back. For the first time in a while, I actually laid eyes on all but one of my staff today.
Wow.
So IS is returning. There's a small number of us who are dealing with some kinds of limited action or other things, but we're largely back. I anticipate doing a recruitment for the HHS position, since we stole Brandy from them, to fill Alice's old spot as help desk specialist. So we do have one more position that I'm gonna be working with Marlene on. I expect to get that refilled before too long, and then we will be good. We do have a bit of a backlog, so we'll need patience for a little bit more, but definitely things are looking up. We're getting back to what we can do, and so just really looking forward to being able to better serve everybody's needs. If you have any questions or concerns, by all means, please let me know.
First and foremost, wanna thank everybody for your votes for the doorway.
That was so nice.
It was good.
We're already planning for next year, just in case anybody wants to know. No, we had a lot of fun with that, my office gals and I, the decorations and whatnot, everybody else's doors and hallways down here were wonderful. The Grinch, that was awesome to see. So, we had a lot of fun with that this year. I will be rolling out, and I'm not quite sure yet what requests are gonna be asked of this year for the new cost allocation plan. I think I'm going to be writing them dual, our old one and our new one. So if you see some funny requests from me, it might be because this company's looking for outside the box ideas to recoup to the general fund indirect costs. Otherwise, we are rolling along with month-end closing, getting budget stuff together, supplemental budgets together for later this month, or next month. Otherwise, my first day back in the office, it was a whirlwind holiday season, and I'm glad it's over. So yeah, any questions?
Okay. We generally come back to commissioners, so go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
I don't mind.
Oof. I don't know where this month went. So probably a couple of high notes. I am meeting with the NETART CAC board officers tonight. We are meeting with Nan Devlin to see how we start integrating all the NETART's talks ticket items with the CAC. Now that that's back up and running, I have a survey that we did with community wants and needs and priorities. So that is something that is a report I will be sharing with the board very soon. But tonight, we're meeting at the fire hall to really just kind of start figuring out a path forward of how we funnel all of these interests, including the Neat Tarts Bay boat launch and all that stuff, into one organized working document of priorities and who needs to be involved in what and what the CAC's role is and all of that moving forward. So in terms of the FEMA buyout, my deposition is done. We should be filing at any time the first of 2 lawsuits for FEMA. This one is on the pick'ems. I wanna thank Randy and Chris and Michelle Bradley, who's not here, but they helped me. We were trying to assess dollar figures for the amount of federal disaster funding relief the county has received since 1996 to help like prove harm, right? So just to give you perspective, the Port of Tillamook Bay received 48 million when the Salmonberry rail washed out. So that was 48 million alone in one project and one fund. So Molly and I worked on my deposition for a couple of weeks. Bill Sargent has reviewed it. I have signed it. I will make sure the board gets a copy of that. So you can see the table, the analysis of impacts to permitting with the mitigation that we talked about at the November 14th workshop. We actually took that table and made it an exhibit to my deposition. So we are today the only jurisdiction that we know of that actually did that kind of work and did that assessment. So more to come on that. I think we have an Oregonians for Floodplain protection meeting coming up in the next 2 weeks. So we'll have more updates there.
Sarah,
yes.
what other counties are participating in that? Are there any others in Oregon?
Yes, there's Eastside, Umatilla, Washington County's coming on board, Clatsop County, Cruz County, City of Warrenton, I believe Columbia County's jumping in, Northwest Natural Gas is one of the partners in that, so it's actually, which is not a county obviously, but there are participants. The participant list of organizations that are both public and private is upwards of 50.
Wow.
And then those paying to be actively part of the litigation, I believe there's 13 government entities that are a part of that, and then a bunch of private industries. So yeah, thank you for asking. That's a good question. Still recruiting for a building official. Kelly has given me a couple of applications that we've received. One is, well, not to get into HR details, but we're going through them. You and I will talk later. The other, so wrapping up at least for now, this phase of the FEMA buyout stuff was a lot of work. I'm glad it's over. The other thing that I am wrapping up is the short-term rental cap board order that the commissioners will review on Wednesday. I will have a small presentation to go with that. Nikki, our GIS analyst, will also be online in case you have any questions for her. The way the order, if you have not seen it yet, the presentation of the order and the license numbers is a reflection of my conversations with Mr. Kearns, Mr. Sargent, Nikki. So you're not gonna see the percentages in it, but I will go over that when we meet on Wednesday. With that, closing out the renewals for 2024, getting to this place with the FEMA buyout, I am able to fully shift my attention to the middle housing zoning code updates. So my hope is for the next several months, that is what I will be able to prioritize and have a lot of community meetings for those pieces of those zoning regulations that allow for community input that are not wholly prescriptive. And basically, for those around the table that don't know what that is, we are doing a massive zoning overhaul to our residential zoning districts in our cities and our unincorporated communities that are served with water and sewer to allow for up to 4 dwelling units outright on a property. Now, obviously, the size of the property will determine and dictate how many of those units could actually happen, but it's that path forward without obstruction, at least from a zoning and a regulatory standpoint, to help get housing units on the ground. We are also kicking off, Mr. Chase, who helped us with our last housing needs assessment in 2019, has started meeting and talking to the Housing Commission, so Parker and I are working on that. And then the grant applications closed on December 31st, so next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, the Housing Commission will be hearing all the presentations for this year's grant funding. We are going to have, I think, some funds roll over. There were a few grant awards last year that did not come to fruition for one reason or another. We've been trying to be very diligent about not releasing those funds until the applicant is at the phase to get them. So there may be some funding coming back or rolling over for that. And then the other thing, I did email with Commissioner Olson yesterday a little bit. The Oregon Department of Aviation, as you are aware, we've had some challenges with the Pacific City Airport and zoning around the airport. We now have in that same area another major commercial retailer who is looking at some property in that area. And it is the same cycle again of referring them to ODAP first. And so I would like to put on a board briefing topic coming up, maybe this month if it's possible. We need to talk to the board, because we're gonna have to have those community meetings in Pacific City. I would like one of you to be there with me for that, because it's gonna be a tough conversation with the community.
So Sarah, if you want me to step into that as your liaison, I'd be happy to take that from.
Thank you. That would be great. And then we can talk about at a board briefing kind of how you feel about the direction of build, especially Paul, you a little bit more on what that means. And then Johnny has submitted her retirement announcement. So we knew it was coming. We're so happy for her.
No, we're not.
I'm trying to be optimistic and brave.
Yes.
So anyway, working with Rachel on that moving forward, and her last day I think will be February 28th. So part of it might be a part-time rehires to help us get through budget as we work through and transition out with new staff, but yeah. Timing isn't great, but I'm really happy for her. She's been an amazing person to work with in our office, so I think those are all my updates for right now.
I don't have a lot in the way of updates, it's just kind of business as usual for us. I did wanna, just one quick item, we had a situation in the courtroom this last Friday that almost bubbled over into something really unpleasant, and luckily Sheriff Brown was in the back of the courtroom and he stepped in and helped it from bubbling completely over, so I just wanted to thank Josh publicly, so, and that's all I got for you.
Well, looks like the county will be able to update a couple of their very out-of-date plans. Both of them are required plans, and so the first one is that we, due to a generous grant from the fire marshal's office, will be able to update our community wildfire protection plan. And I need to talk to our treasurer because I'm hearing word that they're gonna give us the money up front, and that's not normal.
Just take it, do not ask questions.
Okay, I've already given him my name and my address to send the check to.
Depends on what the reporting requirements are.
Yeah, so it's basically, so I'm not sure how that's gonna work. I'm meeting with Jen Warren next week with the fire marshal's office. She's kind of my person I'll be working with to get this done, and we'll figure out how we can spend this money. And it looks like it'll be really nice. I was really shocked that we got that much money. We're getting $150,000.
Wow.
And I would do it for half that personally, so.
Don't say that.
No, so anyway, it was really good, and especially Jen Warren was the one that really pushed this through for us to get it. I feel sorry for us because we're not a high-risk county in wildland fire, and everybody knows different. But anyway, so that's the biggest news. The next one is that most people don't know about the local emergency planning committee, the famous LEPC. it's a committee that every county is supposed to have, according to the fire marshal and state law, and it's to do mainly with hazardous material. And so members of that are the fire departments, of course, and we have certain businesses that are required, they're called a tier 2 with hazardous material to report. And one of those is the creamery, of course, and they're required to attend those meetings. And so we got to have a group in order to have the meetings so our private industries can be compliant. So anyway, part of that group is they have an emergency response plan, which is geared towards hazardous material response. And that's another little requirement. And ours is a little bit out of date. But luckily, I got funding to update that. I've already talked with a few contractors. I need to talk to them anyway to come up with some estimates so I knew how much to ask for. And I think we found a pretty good company to update that for us. I just need to make sure we go through all the proper channels to do that. So, and both these are two that you guys signed off on, the commissioners signed off on for both of those grants. So that's kind of exciting. And then the other one was, remember the ice storm? Okay, and you know, we declared an emergency, the state did, and then finally the president decided they felt, you know, and did a federal declaration. Well, the fallout from that was that FEMA came up with an additional grant to fund projects, and their main focus is on the 10 counties that actually declared an emergency. The ones that didn't, they can still apply, but they're not going to have the high priority. So because of that, I've been working with Chris Laity, and we've been trying to identify some projects where we can partake of some of this money. The first go round is pre-application application. Because the applications haven't come out yet, but the state, what they do is that they, the Office of Emergency Management, has to prioritize before they send the list to FEMA. And so to try to stay ahead of the game and not lose any time, we are doing pre-applications, which are basically one-liners. It's just really kind of, and actually, I don't know how they're gonna do this with their one-page pre-application, but anyway, I think we've got some great opportunities. I also decided, I reached out to Tilda. Everybody knows Tilda, with the Tillamook Bay Flood Improvement District, and we've come up with, she gave me an idea on one of her projects. It's a floodgate, and I talked with our mitigation specialist with OEM, and it looks like that one would probably fit in, so we'll see what happens. And so, because it doesn't have to be county, it can be anybody. And so, and it has to be for mitigation of flooding. Anyway, so that's the other really nice thing. And one more grant that we're working on that I've sent off just the application to is to get some additional training for our individuals in hazardous material response. The biggest one is called HAZWOPER, great acronym, but it's something that a lot of the fire departments need, and also the creamery. And so I reached out to find out what type of training they wanted, because there's another grant through the fire marshal's office that won't come out till next year, but the applications are due this month. And so we'll see what happens there to try to get some additional training in to our basically fire departments and those organizations that need the hazardous material training. Like I say, I think there's only 3 or 4 that are in that tier 2, and it's basically about how nasty the stuff is and how much of the nasty stuff they have. So anyway,
Andy?
so it's kind of fun. The sad part is that we'll be on our 3rd revision of the emergency management performance grant, the one that pays half my salary. We're in our 3rd revision now. Every time the county signs it and sends it to them, the state decides that they needed to change some wording. So you will see that Wednesday on our 3rd revision. and hopefully it's the last revision. We're only 6 months into the year, and we still don't have an agreement with OEM yet, so it's kind of frustrating at the least, but we'll play the game. It's money, and Sean likes money, so we'll get through it. So other than that, enjoy the great weather. This has been the best December and January of my life because nothing's happening.
Don't say anything.
Good segue to Chris.
Yeah, nothing's happening.
Thanks a lot, Randy.
No, it's all right. I've got I'm in the know with the right people, so it's okay.
Okay.
Hey, Randy,
Yes.
the HAZWOPER has hazardous waste operator course, HAZWOPER. The solid waste department's required to do that as well. They take the abbreviated instead of the 40-hour HAZWOPER class, they take the 24-hour HAZWOPER class.
Okay.
Is this something that I can work with you to include the training into your grant for that?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
I kind of thought that offhand, and so when I was telling him how many, I kind of threw in some extra people in there but I'm glad you reminded me because we'll make sure that I'm on a grant roll, so hopefully we'll get this money and then we'll definitely get your people that need it. And I'm looking at both the 8-hour, 24-hour, then the full-blown 40-hour HAZWOPER. And I'm looking at, because the HAZWOPER is 5 days straight through, and they usually don't come to your area to do it. I put in for funding to send people to Portland. That's the nearest place to get the training, so.
Chris,
Thank
you want to give your update while you're on?
Going to be brief. So the crews were out quite a bit around the Christmas timeframe. Typically when you see a lot of emails or text messages flashed out about all the power outages, during the same time frame, county road crews are usually out there taking care of trees as well. When it's just one or two that you see where PUD is working on a power outage, we're usually not necessarily out there. But certainly when PUD is just blasting, we've got road closed or we've got all the power outages, road department is frequently out there as well. It's not uncommon on any given week, you'll see a couple hours throughout the week where somebody's out there taking care of small slide or trees that come down. So just to kind of clue people in that we're not just taking care of the roads during the daytime, we are busy during the evenings at 2 o'clock in the morning as well. Transitioning, so we'll still have cleanup from that for probably a month from we had all those trees down. It'll take us about a month to clean all that stuff up. In tying that in with culverts and everything else we do this time of year. A lot of people ask, can I get on the paving list? Can I get on the paving list? I tell people that let's wait and see what happens to the rest of the winter. I tell people I don't typically really start doing that until towards the end of February and starting to evaluate where do we need to spend our money, because we had a declaration last December before, and in January, and both of those two amounted to significant amount of money that we had to put in. So we ended up between two projects. We ended up spending on Crystal Creek and on Sand Lake Slide. We ended up spending about $1.5 million, and then Big Trout Bridge we ended up spending another $600 roughly. So we're over $2 million. So I know one of the comments or questions came up when we start looking at the budget, and you start seeing a fairly high budget amount in Fund 308. That's usually where the money comes from to take care of those big projects, as well as the big projects that get taken care of during the summer. Just your normal, capital improvement projects. So oftentimes when you look at these big projects, it takes many years to go through the mix. So when we're not spending that money, we're accumulating the money to serve as a match for something that might be built in 2029. So as we start really dialing down into the budget as we're going to move forward, those are some of the things to look at. I did recently go through TLT and the Forest Service money and the TLT Forest Service money and the state vehicle tax, and brought it all the way up to 2024. I inflated those numbers up And even with the increase in TLT money, by the time you level it out back to the early 2000s, which is after the fall of timber, we're still not caught up to where we were with the TLT money. It still doesn't bring us back to whole. So we're still actually in a losing proposition. State gas tax is continuing to, the rise of the fuel efficient vehicles and the electric vehicles. The state legislature's got a significant amount of work that they need to do because ODOT's in quite a bit of a hole because of those lost revenues. So they lose revenue, we do as well, because we're funded still primarily with the state gas tax. So it's an issue that's going to continue to grow on us. So that was a very quick, high-level overview of the road department at the current standing. Solid waste is moving along quite well. Solid waste is down. We had a big COVID bump where everybody was cleaning out their garages. And that era is gone by the wayside, so people aren't generating as much trash. So we're seeing less revenue come in on the solid waste side. So that's quick, high level overview. Thank you.
Chris, do you want to share your updated schedule?
Yes. So I got asked by senior operators is that if I would reconsider going to a 410s instead of working 5/8, go to 410s. Historically, we split during the summer, fall, spring. We do 410 Monday through Thursday. When we get into the winter, we have diminished light, so we will convert that, change it to a 5/8, working Monday through Fridays, 8 days a week. That question was asked to me, so OASIS, Oregon Association of County Engineers and Surveyors, which is the road department version of AOC. So we tend to meet separately, but we're, like most of you, have an email chain. So I reached out to all the directors to find out, well, who has actually made the change? And almost everybody is actually converted to a 410 schedule, even during the winter. We talked about safety issues and things of that nature. How did they offset some safety concerns? And they've got really good solutions. We're starting to see a migration to that. So I said, we'll go ahead starting on January 27th. We'll switch to a 410 schedule, and we'll hold that into the fall, possibly next winter, on a trial run. We've had some things internally that we need to do, which is more yard lightage. It allows us to do a little bit more training during the day. Oftentimes, we take off in the morning. We ended up traveling. We could be 45 miles away to work on a job site. And then you've got 45-minute trip back. So an hour and a half is usually can be wasted just driving to a site and back. So on an 8-hour day, and you lose an hour and a half in travel time, then you throw in lunch and breaks. We've lost considerable amount of time. We get there, we just start working, then you're in a break, and then you're in a lunch, and you're in another break, and it's time to come back. So our production is very diminished. So by increasing that to 410s, that saves 3 hours times 16 people. So that makes a big savings for us. So we're going to go ahead and make that change on January 27th, and we'll hold that. And why a delay for that? 2 reasons. One was informing the union. I need 2 weeks to do that, and allows us to have some time to improve yard lightage. So the big lights in our yard that kind of help the people to see what's going on. We're also installing lights on all of our dump trucks to better illuminate, and then starting to work through some. We've been improving training since September. We're going to continue to do that. So that's the update on our schedule. And I'm sure once that word comes out from us, I'm sure a lot of the other departments are going to be knocking in. How about me? And the simple answer to that is, again, we're losing an hour and a half in travel time. And then you throw another hour on top of that for lunch and breaks. We do a half-hour lunch. At that point, you're 2.5 hours out of an 8-hour day that is non-production. So that really does save us quite a bit of time. Does it apply to your department? Maybe, maybe not. Something that you'll need to look at.
Hey, Chris, it's Mary Faith. I heard the rumor that a Public Works project was nominated for Project of the Year. Can you tell us about that?
Well, we received from City of Tillamook, the Tillamook Chamber of Commerce. Congratulations, you've been nominated for Development Project of the Year. It doesn't say what project that is. The only thing we can think of is probably Cape Mears. So Cape Mears Loop Road, the brand new road, that was funded primarily as a secondary access to the community of Oceanside and in Cape Mears. And Oceanside, certainly wants a lot more money put into their system. And our comment is that, hey, this is, we did make a significant investment for Oceanside by putting this $22 million project. Our match on that was $2 million. And then Oceanside says, well, we don't really care. That's a tourist road. It's got nothing to do with us. And the answer to that is when ODOT shut down Highway 131 recently, and they're going to have to shut it down again to do some repairs on Fall Creek, which blocks access from Oceanside into Tillamook unless you go over the top of the Cape. It is, without that, ODOT would be really struggling to, take care of that. So we think it's Cape Mears Loop Road is that project, although I don't have anything that tells me what that is. That project was designed by Federal Highway, and they had construction oversight by Federal Highway. With that, we actually also won a tourism award for that. So we have a Development Project of the Year, and last fall September or late winter, early winter, we received a tourism award for that project as well. So that project is also on, was it Grants Adventures, I think. You'll start to see some of that come out. So the word is slowly starting to trickle. If you have not driven that road, strongly encourage you to do that. Driving from one direction, drive from the other direction. It's well worth it. It's going to become known before too long. It's slowly starting to do that. It does have a 12% grade. And we did put gates on either end of that. So we've only closed it once, and that was due to heavy ice, which you remember that ice storm we had. So the question or concern is, you're gating a public road, and the answer is yes, because it's when you get ice on a 12% grade, you cannot drive it. That's the quick overview.
Congratulations, the Cape Mears
Thank
Loop
you.
Road is, there wasn't a better development project in Tillamook County than last year, so that is well worth it. So I hope that's what they nominated you for, and it's certainly deserving.
Thank you.
So Chris, quick question, when you say Public Works is going to a 410, is that also solid waste or just road?
Just
road.
roads.
Just road.
Yeah,
Okay.
just roads. So solid waste, thank you for that question. So right now it's just roads. The solid waste is, they would like to go to a 410 as well. And I said they're completely different schedules. Pacific City, it works at different hours than Manzanita. And I said, come up with a proposal. And we still need to make sure that we're taking care of the public by, processing all their garbage. So I threw it back at them and I said, give me a proposal. What do you think that you ought to do? So I threw that right back at solid waste. They are contemplating that to see what makes sense for them and the public. So completely different scenarios as well. So we're looking at them separate. So great question. It is road department, not public works.
Okay, just so we can switch over the stuff in ADB, that's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Aubrey?
Sorry, it took me a second to move my mouse around just right. Guess I can turn my camera on. I'm working remotely today. So not a whole lot to report from the DA's office. We do have a new deputy district attorney. She's brand new at being a prosecutor. She just started Thursday. So that makes us fully staffed for attorneys for the first time in quite some time. She's got some training ahead of her learning curves. So it'll be a while before she's fully operational and doing things independently, but we're very excited to have her. She comes with a couple of years of experience as a judicial clerk over in Clackamas County. So we're excited for what that experience will lend to her as prosecutor. Otherwise, we are just continuing to move along with our cases. I had an interesting meeting last week, phone meeting with a local business owner. And just wanted to share some of the concerns I'm hearing just from the community, because it sounds like that business owner has spoken with other business owners and have had the same concerns. And I've had conversations with some of you in the room, and it sounds like maybe some of the concerns are shared throughout the community. But I'm hearing questions about people who are released from jail or people who aren't held in jail and or maybe not even taken to jail, and that is being somehow interpreted as people are not being prosecuted or held accountable for their actions. I had a lengthy discussion with that business owner about some of the changes in the law. A couple years ago, we had some significant changes to our release laws that affected the bail schedule. So in the old days, people used to get sent to jail. And I also need to point out there's quite a bit of discretion for police officers on when they actually take someone to jail. And whether someone goes to jail does not necessarily mean they are being prosecuted or not being prosecuted. There's a whole process that happens between law enforcement and our office with regard to sharing evidence and police reports, getting a full investigation before my office actually makes a charging decision. So it's very possible that somebody might be taken to jail, released, and then later charged with the crime based on our policies. But what happens now is the release laws have changed. And so people are often taken to jail, but then they are immediately released without having to post bail. It doesn't mean they're not being charged with a crime. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that our legislature decided there was a disparate impact on low income people, and it was affecting transients and just different people. So basically what the bail schedule allowed was people who had the money to bail out could bail out. People who didn't have the money were stuck in jail. And so they've changed it now to create what they call guidelines, which are basically different categories. So low level types of crimes, such as we call those quality of life crimes, disorderly conducts, trespass, things like that. A lot of times police are able to resolve the situation in the moment by removing the actor from the scene and taking them to jail, but then they don't qualify to be held. So they're released on a release agreement. And there are mechanisms where if somebody violates the release agreement, they go right back to jail. But what I've started to figure out is that people are equating that. They're seeing, something happens, or they're learning that something happens, and the person's taken to jail, but then they're immediately back out on the street. And they're equating that to, well, my office isn't doing anything. So if I just wanted to point that out, because I found that to be a very interesting conversation with that local business owner, and I'm contemplating what to do about that, and maybe some further conversations that need to be had. I think a lot of us have seen some major drastic changes in several laws, not just the release laws, but we saw Measure 110 a few years ago and the impacts that had on decriminalizing drug possession for minor drug possession. And now we've had House Bill 4002 take effect, which has effectively recriminalized drug possession. And we're all working, those of us, several of you in the leadership team meeting are not, the Board of Commissioners, we're all working toward the deflection process and what that looks like and how those changes have been implemented. But we all know in this room anyways, in this meeting, that those changes have had drastic effects on public safety and what's actually happening in our community. And the message isn't necessarily getting out to the community members. And part of it it's been a whirlwind as we've all tried to figure out how to actually handle this, what the impacts are, and what the changes really are. So I encourage anybody that's hearing from your local community members, as I have, to maybe share that information with me, because I'd like to discuss more about maybe having a town hall or something like that to help share this information, because I think there's been quite a lot of confusion. And, as we navigate this, it's affecting all of us, the sheriff's office, and I know the commissioners are hearing stuff. So I'm very interested in working together to help disseminate information and help the public be aware of what the changes are and how we're navigating them, because I am prosecuting crimes. My office is prosecuting crimes. We are working very closely, and have been ever since I've been in office, working very closely with law enforcement to strengthen our cases so that we have a better ability to prosecute and get better results out of our prosecutions. So I do want to work toward that, to have that collaborative effort and share information so that people do understand what's actually going on behind the doors of the courthouse. That's all I have for now. I've got some things I'm working on as well, as far as Dr. Betlinski, our medical examiner, is looking to retire at the end of his contract, which is the end of June. So I've been working for a few months now on a plan, and I do plan on coming to the board at a board briefing in a couple weeks. I was hoping to do it this week, but I have trial. So, I'm still a trial lawyer first and foremost. So I have trial this week. I'm hoping, I don't know if I'm too late for the cutoff for the board briefing agenda, but next week, if I can't get in next week, it'll be the following week, as early as I can, to present some plans that I have for moving forward as Dr. B officially retires in June. So that's to come, and I'll share more with the leadership team meeting, or the leadership team meeting. I can't speak this morning. I'll share more with the leadership team in the next meeting about what the plans are as we get approval or ideas from the commissioners on how to move forward. That's all I have for today. It's turning into a long meeting. We all have a lot of updates, so I appreciate the updates. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard, and look forward to hearing more from you all later. Thanks.
Thanks, Aubrey, and connect with Debbie on what board briefing time works for you.
Okay, sounds good.
Dawn, library?
Happy New Year, everyone. I have a couple updates. It was a busy end of year at the library. I'm thrilled to announce that we received, or that the Tillamook Library Foundation received a $90,000 donation from Dorothy Piacentini to support 3 initiatives that the foundation had identified: a teen center inside of the library being remodeled. Basically, the major thrust of that is putting up modular glass walls that will allow us to be able to see what's going on in the teen room, but maybe have a little bit more of a noise barrier to make it a little more usable for teens. Along with that, a college and career center that'll emphasize information about vocations and college opportunities for kids in the county, as well as adults for that matter. And then educational endowment for library staff. They'll support library staff seeking to get their library science degree. So we're really excited about those 3 initiatives getting funded. We're really thankful to Dorothy Piacentini for supporting the Library Foundation with that, and excited to get working on that in 2025. We also are coming to the end of the building work that's been happening here at Tillamook, Maine. We're scheduling final walkthroughs, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. And while that project has been challenging in a number of ways as we've moved forward, I am really happy to announce that after several storms, we have not seen any of the leaks that have been a perpetual problem in the front of the building. So I'm hoping that that is a sign that we finally have that front roof area dealt with in a way that'll last for us without additional water intrusion. To follow up on some of what Aubrey was saying, we've seen an uptick in issues just in the last, I'd say, 3 to 4 weeks here at the library, in issues with sort of property vandalism, issues with behavior inside the library that have been happening. And so we're working through that. Thankful for support from both Chief Troxel and from Undersheriff Matt Kelly as we try to deal with things as varied as folks in our parking lot that are overnighting or longer, and for issues that are happening inside the library. Hopefully, it's just a short uptick and then we move back into normal times, but it has been notable for library staff in this last little bit. And then, of course, we're moving our catalog and patron database system, the system that is the kind of backbone of everything the library does. That is happening March 10th. We will go live with the new system. I've seen some mock-ups of it now. Staff are getting a chance to work on it in a test server, and it looks really great. I think it's going to be a really good addition for all of our patrons, but there will be some growing pains in March that we expect to have. We are working through the final details of just getting everything aligned for that. We expect that there will be a training closure February 13th and a closure on March 8th as the system officially transitions. And there should be an MOU that comes in front of the board, hopefully sometime this month, though I'm trying to see where we're at with that document at this point. And so that'll be the formal agreement around the consortium between Tillamook County and Lincoln County Libraries, as well as the community colleges of the North Coast. So excited for all of that. I think, again, it's going to be a really big improvement for people in terms of their especially online experience of the library. And then just a note that we started our tax aid program scheduling that serves over 300 people in the area in getting them tax help. That brings money from the federal government or people's money that has gone to the federal government back into our community. So it also helps people to resolve some of the tax issues they may have. And so we're always thrilled to host that program and looking forward to people coming in for that. If people want to sign up for that, they just need to call into the library or stop into the library and we'll get them set up with appointments. I think that's most of everything for right now. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Don. Jackie?
Sorry, I was having trouble with clicking the buttons. We have no updates for Justice Court. We're just continuing as usual.
Joel?
Good morning. Happy New Year. Congratulations to all the electeds who got sworn in. And no updates for the group today. Thank you.
Josh?
I will just keep mine short and brief. There was a recent KATU news story about a situation down in Nestucca or the school district. I'm not sure if everybody's read it or familiar with it. The bad thing is that they actually put some incorrect and completely inappropriate information in there. In fact, they actually changed it once they got called on it. We were very purposeful in how we dealt with it from a public standpoint, weighing the need of the public to know and protection of the victim. I'll take the heat from the public in order to protect the victim, which was ultimately our drive, but it is creating and stirring up a bunch of drama down there. So we're dealing with that. We also, I think I sent it out to a handful of people about the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. They're a fringe organization. They actually showed up at the May primary in Pacific City to try to challenge me, threaten military action when I wouldn't kind of do what they say. But they had been showing up at Lynn County Courthouse, even somebody dressed in a uniform, one of their quote unquote marshals. So I just made sure everybody was aware of that with the swearing in ceremony, but we haven't had any, to my knowledge, nobody has showed up. The incident in Lynn County was not specific to swearing in, I don't believe. So just, keep an eye on that or be aware of it. Like I said, they're a fringe group that has different beliefs. You can look them up if you want. It's interesting to see what they have to say, and none of it really makes sense. But the only other thing that I want to mention is we had some awards handed out at the Oregon State Sheriff's Association annual conference, which is a big one for sheriffs across the state. Actually, Commissioner Fournier received one. It was for meritorious service for just years of being a public servant, and seeing my vision through on our social media and engagement with the public. We also had Deputy Terrence Waters and OSP Trooper Tom Main win an award for the situation in Rockaway, and Deputy Sean Ehlers for a different situation in Rockaway also won an award. Those were for distinguished service. We haven't had it posted yet because somebody hasn't actually written the story. I hope he's smiling because he knows who I'm talking about. My former PIO. I'm kidding. He's gonna be helping, but he's been busy, so we're gonna get that posted up. We love to celebrate our staff. Other than that, we have openings and we're continuing to try to hire. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Josh. Marlene?
Good morning. Good to see everyone, even if it's virtually, and Happy New Year. I'm going to just do a review, a little bit of what our Health Council and Executive Committee is looking at for the coming calendar year. So just like the county, we're looking as a department at both budget, revenue, and costs, and did a review of a 5-year trend and found, like in our latest report for 22-23, that there's obviously an increase in the cost, and that relates to medical supplies, et cetera, along with the increase that was needed for staff salaries. So consequently, we're looking at continuing to monitor patient-generated revenues, other sources of revenue, our productivity dashboards, and other sources of revenue. Again, this probably sounds really familiar to what the county overall is doing, but it's just nice to kind of see things are in alignment with processes. So we had our big grant due December 31 for which we're asking for a slight increase of our $2.5 million grant. And then we also are requesting an adjustment in our Medicaid rate. So that's the Oregon Health Plan, or the rate that we provide for people that don't otherwise have health insurance. So we're asking for an increase in that rate. It will take about a year to review, but that was again due December 31, and it'll be retroactive to when we open our new integrated site. So we might see some additional revenue at that point. And we did some projections on targeted revenue with new services for the year and cost savings. And one of the things that we learned from our health needs assessment was just improving ease of access to any type of service. So we're reviewing a lot of that as it relates to electronic access. So those were just some things that I thought were interesting in relation to looking at the county's ability to generate revenue and where are cost savings and the like. So we also completed our community health needs assessment. That is where we partner with other healthcare partners. So we're working with Adventist Health, the other typical healthcare and behavioral health partners on that. And we just are about finalizing the improvement plan. So that work helps direct our department around the services that we provide and the work that we do. One of the things that came out of that clearly was from the community, and it relates to what Audra, I think, was talking about too. The community wants more access to care, more timely access to care, culturally and linguistically appropriate care, with the focus on being trauma-informed or understanding people's history, their medical history, their emotional and physical trauma they may have experienced, and non-stigmatizing services. So this was especially true as it related to feedback on substance use disorders, or as it relates to just accessing care quickly when people are struggling to receive the services they need. So quick reflection on that by our board around our department priorities for 23. It's actually not just 5 years, it's 6, I think, because we had a bridge plan. We have 5 priorities relating to facilities and space planning, communications and culture. And communications and culture includes the equity and inclusion staff that are new to our team, and a contract for a 2-year around wellness and trauma-informed practices. And the third item is limited expansion of services. Again, I think these really align a lot with what we're doing as a county as a whole. So what's your basic required and what do we need to expand to meet community needs? So we're looking at that. And then also looking at how do we improve overall outcomes for our community health and for patients in general. So just thought I would share those items. You may be aware or probably have heard, so on the service area, the limited expansion includes the new integrated site with the pharmacy. Our partners, Genoa Healthcare, are hoping to start their construction and remodel in February or March. We now have 5 behavioral health clinicians, and I think that's where we're going to be staying. We've added a specialty service of dermatology, and we're working with other healthcare partners along bringing some other specialty to our community based on what we're hearing from you and other folks in the community about what they want. And then the last item relates to dental care expansion. So there's limited space and limited resources to do it, but we're definitely hearing that we need to do that. And then again, just the overall accessibility requirements and support for people that are trying to get in as quickly as possible to get care. The last 2 items I was going to mention, and I won't go deep, is the facilities part that Rachel was talking to for the county and the courthouse. We just completed the facilities assessment and space planning and reviewed that with the board around deferred maintenance. So we have a 1 to 3 year plan for that, an expansion project and a draft that's gone out to staff for our current clinic, and then some recommendations around dental. So that's a big part of the next 1 to 3 years around facilities. Again, sounds like a lot in alignment with what the county is doing. And then last but not least, in this coming year, thanks for the time to share this, but succession planning, which we're doing across many departments as we see people retire and move on. So we're looking at key staff that are going to retire in the next 2 to 5 years. That includes me, our finance officer, our medical director, and others, and even planning for our board. How do you plan that when people are looking to retire, move on to other roles in the next 1 to 3 years? So sorry, it's kind of a start of the year kickoff of all the top list and what's happening. So I thought I'd share that big picture with you since we had a little bit longer meeting. Thanks for letting me do that. Happy to respond to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene. Nick?
Good morning. So I'll keep my report brief due to time constraints. So our retroactive payments we got this year were $1.13 million in retroactive payments. We were pretty proud of that number compared to 2021, where we got $946,000. 2013, we got $914,000. In 2012, we got $986,000. Our new monthly payments for last calendar year was $284K. So that is pretty much it.
Thank you, Nick.
Yep.
Chrissy?
Hi, my apologies. Nothing of note. We wrapped the November election up and we are now getting May set. And all the districts have to get us their updates and we'll get all that notice to the paper here in the next couple weeks and on to May we go. And that's about
any initiatives?
Not that I know of at this point. No. I've had a couple calls, but nothing been filed.
Okay.
Thank you.
We missed the love fest earlier.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay.
Yep.
Commissioner Mel?
Happy New Year, everyone. Something that's on my mind is raising the TLT tax. Everyone on the leadership team knows we've been talking about this and planning it, tentatively planning to go on the May ballot. Not for sure yet, but we have a draft ordinance, and Sarah has graciously agreed to help me coordinate some meetings this month with the short-term rental community. So we have a couple of those on the books, and we continue to communicate with the cities and with stakeholders. So the intent is that if we move forward with all of this, you know, I think a lot of people will be supportive, and my hope is that we will have communicated with everyone, who might not be supportive. So it won't come as a surprise to anybody, and they'll have a chance to interact with us and let us know their concerns and certainly, you know, give public comment, etc. So we're just trying to thoroughly communicate the issue. And thank you, Sarah, for helping.
Okay, a couple things is sort of in the interest of kicking off what the next year looks like. I am the first vice president for AOC in this coming year, which means that I will be spending more time probably in Salem and more time on AOC stuff. We are heading into a long session with the legislature, so I expect that I will find myself down in Salem more often testifying, etc. So if you have things related to the legislative session, please don't hesitate to reach out and say, hey, is AOC aware of this? If it's coming through your department or a particular function that you all do, please let me know to make sure that Tillamook County's voice is getting roped in there where it needs to be and elevated where it needs to be for that work. Similarly, I am also the chair for the Council of Forest Trust Land Counties, and so we'll be spending time again in Salem related to that. We are still working on the potential for a bill to come forward out of the work group that was done with the governor's office. There was no great clear path forward related to that. So we are still working. We are working, looking at the ordinance, it's the statute itself that defines how timber revenue is shared across counties that are timber counties, and working with the schools and their lobbyists, working with special districts and their lobbyists to see if there is any way, and the Department of Forestry, is there any way to make any changes in that particular statute that can create a better revenue flow. So nothing, no magic was found. We were jokingly saying we were waiting for Brandon, who is our AOC person, to come up with a unicorn that was gonna somehow create an answer to this. And so we have not, although Brandon got a stuffed unicorn. So we're hoping that was a gift from the committee to say, come on, find us a unicorn. So we continue to work on that and see what we can do. Additionally, AOC, in terms of the biological opinion and the FEMA work, is poking their head into the Trump transition work to try to get a bead on who may be placed as secretaries and undersecretaries in FEMA. Who are those people coming in that we need to make sure that we are having audience with, as you did, Sarah, at the conference that you went to, looking to say who's new, because with the change of administration, the folks at FEMA will also be new faces. So AOC has taken a piece of that as well, trying to figure out who they are and how we begin conversations with them now, even before they're seated. So that will be a lot of my work in the coming year. So I look forward to representing Tillamook County in that way.
Is that it?
I've got nothing for the last hour.
Okay, sure, you can check your emails, those might be.
Something might have popped in.
Okay, our next meeting is February 3rd, is that what's on? Yep, February 3rd.
Please take donuts.
Yeah, otherwise they end up in our office.
Yeah, and we don't want them in our office, to be very clear.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thank you. We'll put them in Paul's office, promote Paul's desk.
So you get to start parking in front if you want.
Saw that.
You guys see these spaces, are you gonna shuffle?
Well, how we have done it in the past is the longest vehicle parks in the north spot.
Oh, so
So
it's
that
not
you
just
don't have to
perfect.
perfect.
Which vehicle?
It's the length of the vehicle, because people don't wanna have to pass the long vehicle back up.
Good point.
So I might be the longest vehicle.
Well, that's like my van.
Right.
I'm driving
In
my
which
van.
case, I guess we have to make arrangements.
To run the plan. Sure.